Welcome back to Questions You Never Thought to Ask, the Whitewater Kayaking podcast. This week, I'm joined by Aoife Hanrahan, who's the organizer of Galway Fest, which is started a pretty small kayak festival event in Ireland and is growing exponentially. They just had Aoife, was this your third one or your fourth one this weekend just gone?
So it's my own fifth one, and then the boys, it was their ninth one.
So you guys have been going pretty hard on this event and kind of growing it and making it bigger. Do you want to give us the history of it? Like, how did it get started? Where did I'm sure people know about Ireland from Game of Thrones, but they don't know much about the kayaking there. Do you want to give us the rundown?
Yeah, so it's a funny history with the boys, Andrew and Barry, two very, very good friends. And it actually started with a drunken conversation with the boys in a pub with Shane Cronin. He's one of our main sponsors, and without Shane, the event would just not be able to happen. And yeah, pretty much Shane was like, there's an event in the north, there's an event in the east, and you boys need to start an event in the west. So the boys were like, yeah, we'll do it. And then they woke up the following morning and they were like, what do we just sign ourselves up for? And Shane was like, I cannot wait for this event in Galway. So that's kind of how it all started off. And
Hello, Aoife. Aoife. Hello.
Particular, can you hear me?
So you're just breaking up there. We got to the point in your story where the boys woke up the next day, and then you kind of broke up. Sorry, can you pick us back up?
Yeah, so the boys woke up the following day and they were like, what did we just get ourselves into? Shane had messaged them to say, I'm looking forward to the event. And yeah, that's where it started. And yeah, over the last few years, it's just grown and grown and grown. And this year, we actually had to put a cap on it. With last year, we ended up having, with our first event, it went to 260 people. And you know the way Ireland is, we can't cope with the snow. So we actually had to cancel our event because all flights into the country and all roads were pretty much blocked. So we then ended up with around 170 paddlers instead on the second weekend. But this year we were like, oh God, okay, there is seriously a big attraction towards this. And we said we'd have to cap it this year at 250 within the space of, we had the event up, I think it was like less than a week, or was it something nuts, like 3 to 4 days, and the event sold out. It was crazy. Like,
so what do you
see that? It was just crazy.
What do you think the secret sauce is to make an event to go from like drunkenly deciding you're going to run a kayak event to just a few years later having to cap it at like a limited number of entries? Like, what do you think is what makes Galway Fest so special that it's grown from a drunken decision to being capped at 250 people?
I think what it is the people. You know, I was chatting to Addy last night, Adrian Mattern, and he made a very good point. You know, he said he's met Irish people all over the world, and you know they always tend to make an impact on you. You know, you tend to always remember that individual because they always tend to be stoked on life, stoked to the party, stoked on the river, always this positive vibe. But Adrian said, you know, when you put us all together in one room and in one location, the vibe, the atmosphere is just, it's one to none. It's so special. And, you know, people say, oh, congratulations, Barry, Aoife and Andrew, you did an amazing job. You had such a sick weekend. And, you know, at the end of the day, we have got this crew in behind us, and it's them that is making the event. You know, we delegate out jobs and that, but it's not us. We have these people year on, year out, every year, just picking up the jobs that they do every year for us. And without them, you know, we couldn't do it. Like, for example, Owen Howard, he stands at the footbridge this year for 4.5 to 5 hours, pushing people off the bridge and getting their times. And without him, you know, how would we get the start times? Or the girls under the bridge, you know, sitting there for 4.5, 5 hours. These kind of people are the people that make our event. And it's not us, you know. It's not just the three of us here. We have a massive crew behind us of people that step in, you know, if it is that person to just help us set up marquees, you know, there's we never have to ask somebody twice. And I think that's what makes our event so unique. It's the people, it's the vibe, it's the atmosphere. Oh, you can't not but have a smile on your face all weekend, you know.
So
I think
let's just unpiece some of the nuts and bolts then. If like let's say for example someone listening to this podcast was like, man, I'm really inspired by what those Irish guys are doing. I want to start a kayak festival in my hometown. And I think Galway Fest has like a race component and a freestyle component, right?
it does, yeah. So that's it.
So how like what's the mechanics of making that all come together? Like where do you start?
So from the the start, I think you need to pose the question to yourself: are you doing this for fun? Are you organizing this for fun, for people to have a good time? Or are you organizing it for the competitive side? You know, for us, we're not looking for, you know, everybody to be insanely competitive going down that river. We're looking for people to have a good time. I said in a briefing on Sunday, before our boat across, I said, guys, thanks for coming. I know you've got sore heads. I gave out the seriousness of it, the rules and everything. And then I turned around and I said, I want to see every person smiling. You know, you shouldn't be here at our event unless you're here to have fun, because that's all that matters to us, is about people having fun. So I think that's the first question to pose to yourself. You know, how are you going to make this as fun as possible? So like that's being inclusive. So the way we run ours is we've got a lot of categories. We've got our juniors and then we've got our intermediates, and they're our main focus when it comes to prizes. We give them the best prizes that we can possible, so the likes of gear that they need, you know, they're our up and coming futures, so putting a focus on them is really really important. I think that's the first thing. What is really cool is if you could get 3 events, you know, if you could get a freestyle spot, if you could get a race course, and then the best thing that everybody always looks forward to is the motocross, setting up a course and making it as fun as possible. So they're kind of the 3 components to our event. But so I can tell you, like, last 2 years we haven't had Tune working. This is the first year that we've been able to have a big night event like Tune. But up until now, we've had this little feature down at the bottom of the carb that's a tidal feature. It's very small. It is so crappy. But yeah, we can still have an amazing event. So even if your freestyle spot isn't the best, once you can get in there, once you can surf and let people have a good time, put fun moves on the score sheet. You know, that's another thing. Put fun moves on the score sheet. Make it fun for people. That's what's really important. So you don't need to have the best feature. We got lucky this year. We just happened to get a sick ton of rain before the event that allowed us to have Tune working at its prime flows. So I think that's what's really important, Seth, is definitely posing that question to yourself. Ask, you know, how do I make this as fun as possible? You know, I've got a not great feature, but how do I make that the best time for people? And then when it comes to the race as well, you know, having good atmosphere down below at the finish line, you know, having everybody encouraging each other, having music down there, getting the vibe going, because at the end of the day, you know, you want people happy and you want people to be stoked. It's the same with our boat across on Sunday. You know, giving Colin, one of our sponsors, the mic to put on music, creating a good vibe, a really good atmosphere, because people are hungover, so hungover. But yeah, it's about creating that vibe. And I think that's what we really focus on. Because ourselves, even though I think Barry made a good point last night, is, you know, the day that Barry or Andrew stop going out on that Saturday night and creating a big party is the night when Koi Fest won't last, you know, without having those boys and ourselves creating a very good vibe. So as an organizer, you need to be as happy as you can and you need to love it. You need to love what you're doing. Like, we love this weekend. We get such a buzz off it. And I think that's the main part about our event. If we're stoked, everybody else is stoked. So I think is that answering that okay, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, and let's think about like in terms of like creating a good scene. Like, what do you guys do to interact with the people in the town where you're kayaking? Like, how do you get those local people to like check in on what you're doing and be stoked about it? Because I'm sure it probably creates a lot of extra disruption having like an extra 200 people there to go kayaking.
Yeah. And especially said that we're in like a tiny little sea village. That's where the river finishes. It's in a small little village called Spittle. And we're quite lucky where the race course is. The start line is in a caravan park. That's where it starts. And what we do every single year is we go up to the people in the caravan park. We pose a question to them, you know, we're organising the event that we do every year. We'd really appreciate the support. He's got a really good lap around that people can drive around, and we hand him a bottle of wine and a box of chocolates. And then at the end of the event, we give him a voucher for dinner. You know, it's just something simple like that. It's a simple gift that we give, but you know, it means a lot to that individual. When it comes to the finish line, we use it's the HSE, like the NHS. You know, the our healthcare system. They own that building down there. It's an old school. And yeah, we got in touch. We emailed them. We said, look, this event, and they were like, oh yeah, we know the kayaking event. Yeah, of course you can borrow. They use our car park again, no problem. The shop ladies, we get in contact with the women in the shop because we've got a lot 250 kayakers that need to be fed all day. So we get in contact with them and tell them that it's going to be a busy event. They're delighted. They were able to put on 2 to 3 extra staff in behind their deli counter and be able to serve out like food all day, which was sick. Tume, I'm not going to lie, Seth. Like we've had some issues. We have had issues with Tume because it's private on both sides. Next year there will be a couple of changes, but again we get in contact with the local people. On River Right, we've got a really amazing farmer. He sold his plot of land this year, told us where to find the owner, went up to the owner, asked him, no problem. He took his cattle out of the field the day before, 2 days before. And then for Sunday, we make sure to inform the Gardaí, so the police force, that that there is an event going on, as well as the fire brigade as well, because if they see people in the water, if they see people swimming, there will be a call out. So if there is a person swimming, that is something that's really important. That if your river is in a place where you know it's clearly visible, like on our Sunday, it's going through the city centre. Everybody can see what's going on. We need them to make sure that they have full trust in us, that we know what's going on and we're in control of the situation that's happening. So yeah, so when it comes to that, that's how we kind of do it.
And
Yeah.
in terms of like safety and stuff, just talking
Yeah.
about the fire guys there, and you know, what's the mechanics for your insurance for you guys? Like, how do you make that happen? Like, is that easy people to set up if you were trying to set up? If someone else was listening to this trying to set up a kayaking event, like what's the hoops they have to go through to be covered?
Okay, so on safety side, we get the Red Cross. You know the Red Cross.
Yep.
We get them to have an ambulance at each site. That's really important, especially when it comes to the whitewater race. You know, you get people getting bumps and bruises and stuff like that. You want to just make sure that you're covered on that. If something happens, if there's an evac, that you have an ambulance there straight away. On the Saturday, we have, and I'm going to give a big shout out to these guys. We have an incredible group of people. We've John Brady and Kevin Foynes fronting it. We set up our main safety team. So these guys are head over the safety. Okay, they then go through the registration and they pick out the people that they know are of, let's just say, like a level 4 to level 5 standard. Okay, and they are our safety team on the Saturday. We have safety team 1 and safety team 2. Safety team 1 hits out straight away, is out in the water for the first, like, what was it, about 125 paddlers or something like that. Then there's a switch over where safety 2 team gets on, so that safety 2 team 1 can then race. So when safety team 1 is in place, safety team 2 are racing. When safety team 2 is in place, safety team 1 then races. So we make sure that before the event, we have all these people emailed, we've them briefed, and they're there early in the morning. Then on the Sunday, the Sunday is just what we do with the boat across is just the people who have raced, they sit in the eddy, and then they're the safety, and then we switch it out. Every time you race, you do safety at the bottom. And then we're quite lucky on the insurance part. We have an amazing federation just because we've got such a small country. We can have such close contacts with our canoeing. It's canoeing in Ireland, like British canoeing. And yeah, without them, the event just would not be possible. They give us the insurance for our event on the basis that every kayaker on the Saturday has to have a level 3 cert. And we're extremely strict on that. So we cross-check with Canoe in Ireland to see, you know, who has their level 3 and who doesn't based on their numbers. And then, yeah, if you don't have it, then you can't race. So the British, I think, equivalency is like star 4, 4-star. Is that what you call it? Yeah, it's about that. So That's how we cover ourselves, Seth, in particular, is you have to have that level 3 standard.
So in summary here, I think you've kind of like really deconstructed the nuts and bolts of like organizing a kayaking event and growing it here. So it seems like if someone was listening to this and they were like, I am 100% going to do this year, they would have to start with being like, is this something I want to do and why? And then just pretty much start finding some friends to help out and just start hammering off those chores until it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think a good way, if we want to just like structure it, Seth, I think the best way to say is, Barry and Andrew came up with this idea. So they're the main organizers, they're the go-to. Okay. Underneath that, they have created their team. They tend to put one person on each event. So this year we had Lucian head over freestyle. At Whitewater, Barry and Andrew tend to front that, but they would have had their head safeties, which would have been John Brady and Kev Foynes, because that is just really important. Okay. Then on the Sunday, Andrew fronts the mass start, and myself and Ashling, we fronted the border cross. So that's the first layer. Okay. So you've got your organizers and you've got your event organizers. Okay. And then underneath that, you need to make sure that you have prepared the scoring system, how you're going to do it. Is it going to be online? We have got two incredible people, Jack Phelan and Carl Kelly, who've designed our whole online system for each event. They have it connected so that when you input a bib number, that bib number is inputted across a heap of Excel sheets so that we can get our overall results. With 250 people, you need to have a system in play like that. Otherwise, people won't get the results and you won't get your results in on time. So that's the scoring system. The next set is your sponsorship. Okay, we have a sick group of sponsors. They are incredible. We've got them helping on site and everything. And without them, like I said, the prizes this year were just they were absolutely insane.
Give us a rundown. Who are your sponsors? Give them a quick shout out and what did they hook you up with?
Yeah, let's say so. Doerstone is one of them. Doerstone created sick amount of t-shirts this year, but not only that, they fronted overall men's expert and men's women. Canoe in Ireland took an entire event with NRS, and they did all of freestyle, each category, each prize. Thanks to Pam and Canoe Centre, they also fronted the overall Boaterex. Everybody got a prize for second, third, and that. We also, a big thing, as I said before, we focus in on our intermediates and our beginners. So IOR were giving out decks, CAG. We had Lily trip vouchers there with Bartosh's company. We had Laurie's company there, vouchers. We had Flow Kayak vouchers. We had Surfiers. We had, I'm definitely missing one set. We had, I think, am I missing people? We Predator giving out like helmets. And then like we had for the overall expert and that, we just gave them clothing because at the end of the day, they're all sponsored athletes, most of them that come in for a second and third. And we have an amazing brewing company that came on board this year, gave them beers, started their night off again on Sunday night. And with a couple of clothing vouchers as well. Like, so everybody's going away happy with kit, with a setup to buy a boat, with a setup to get more training, a voucher to get coaching of some of the best coaches around. So yeah, I put a lot of thought into that this year. And I wanted to make them as good as possible. So yeah, your sponsor set is your next one. And then yeah, after that then is your crew underneath. Like we have PA systems coming from Shane Cronin and Colin Healy, sorry. And then we have our sponsors setting up their tents and everything, who kept everybody dry at the freestyle, giving out boats. That's another good thing to have, Seth, actually. I'll add that one in. Is when it comes to the internationals, a lot of them don't have boats. We're so lucky in this country when it comes to Colin and I Canoe. He's got a heap of variety of boats. So we need the sponsored athletes coming over. I just message, hey Colin, Adrian Matron's coming over. Have you got an extra kayak demo? Yeah, I have a Rexy. Here you go. Brian Orton's coming over. He needs a piranha boat. Yeah, no problem. I have it. So we were lucky on that front. And not only just the two boys, we had a heap of people from the UK and we were able to provide boats with them. And especially EXO came over. They gave out boats, piranha. We were lucky on that front that people could try out sick boats. It's a perfect time set for people to try out new boats because you're at features, you're at rivers. So that is a really important one. is having demo boats there for people to use. Let's save people that €70 return, if not €100 return boat over. So yeah, I think they're kind of trying to go through like our little checklist that we have. That's kind of the main part.
I mean, that's a pretty thorough explanation of how to set up a kayaking event, which is kind of what I wanted to get at with this podcast. And I thought you were pretty well equipped to give us a rundown on that. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, really. I just wanted to get all of your knowledge about organizing a kayaking event and then put it in one podcast that people could listen to and be like, okay, sweet, I'm going to start something in my home spot, on my local river, or whatever. I think there's a lot of sick kayaking areas that don't have any good events, and it's just because nobody's taking ownership of starting one and organizing one, right? And so the main thing with Galway Fest in Ireland was like Barry and Andrew just started and then started figuring that stuff out as it went along. And I think if just a handful of people would start, who are passionate about that, could start taking charge, and we could see a much bigger growth across all these different areas, and we can have many more of these festivals to come in the future, and hopefully to grow as big as Galway Fest is at capping at 250 people.
Yeah, and Seth, it's so rewarding. I think that's one thing that is really good to encourage people to do it. Like that feeling at the prize giving yesterday when we had everybody clapping down at us, like that was by far one of the best feelings ever. Seeing people come up to me. I've been getting messages all day about people showing their appreciation for it. That is one of the best feelings ever. But if you've got the drive, if you've got the determination to pull it together, and just remember, like, if you are going to be doing an event, it's for the fun of it. It's making sure that you want people to get into kayaking. You want these intermediates, these juniors to keep on kayaking. And this should be the reason why every year we have an event. We have another event on the other side of the calendar up north in Cranafest. And between the two events, it's all about having fun and enjoying yourself. And at the end of the day, you just want people out in the water. You want people to enjoy kayaking. And that's what it's about. If it's for any other reason, then don't be organizing it. It's for that one main core reason. So I think that's just really important. Well, that's the way we have it here.
I think if people can just take 1/10 of that enthusiasm and get after it, then there'll be a lot of kayaking festivals to come. Aoife, how can people keep up with Galway Fest on social media? How can they find you? What's the hashtags? What's the ads?
So we've got hashtag Galway Fest is our main one. Check out, we've got it's actually a friend page, so friend us on Facebook. Everything is public, so you'll be able to see it anyway. And we're hoping to release the dates in the next week for Galway Fest. Just check us out. We've got Instagram as well, Galway Fest on Instagram. We're going to keep posting up photos. We've got our sick photographer, Jack Ledwith, who's messaging me right now to figure out how many photos we want up. He took 5,000 photos over the weekend, or if not 6,000, he said. So check us out on that and make sure that to see when we put up the date in the next week, put it in your calendar for next year. We'd love to have you. We'll have registration open in January next year. And just a big shout out to our sponsors. Without you guys, we couldn't do it. And with our crew, there's a big backing in behind us. It's not just the three of us. So thanks so much to everyone who traveled over too. It was an absolutely epic weekend. As you can see, I can barely talk. So so thanks for that.
All right, great, Aoife. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. And we will see everyone else on the podcast in 2 weeks' time. Peace.
Thanks, Ed.